telling you that it's not him. I'm telling you it's you.
No, it's you.
You can't make it up.
Actually,
you don't listen.
No,
and you give
sir.
them, and you give the people outside of our house more respect than you give me. At the end of that,
you crazy.
yes, you do.
No, I don't.
Here's the problem. You don't get too. Why would I care about them?
Because you
do I talk about Marquez? When do I talk about Marquez outside of the 6 times we have the conversations about?
Yes, we do. Both of them live rent-free in this goddamn house.
Trisha thought her long and messy story with Marquez was finally over. She believed signing the divorce papers would close the chapter, but the real storm had only just begun. What was supposed to bring her peace quickly turned into something much heavier, something she couldn't escape. The ink on the divorce agreement was barely dry when the court delivered a shocking legal order that flipped her entire life upside down. Instead of moving forward freely, Trisha found herself caught between strict rules, tense custody disputes, drug testing demands, and ultimatums that affected not only her, but also Ken, the man she thought she could lean on. People assumed that separating from Marquez would calm the waters. They thought Trisha would finally breathe again after years of fighting. But that assumption couldn't have been further from the truth. What she actually received wasn't freedom. It was a list of restrictions written in black and white. The first headline move was clear.
I'm not okay with is you trying to make it seem like I have issue with men that no, it's the issue is with you. Are you talking to me? You didn't talk. You don't do that when you on. You don't do that when you're around nobody else. You don't care about me either. Why would you do? Why would you go harder on somebody you care about than somebody you don't care about? That absolutely makes no sense.
Because I don't have no.
That makes no sense. You're supposed to be more subtle and more open to communication with me.
Because it's frustrating me that you keep asking me. That's
it's not keep asking. I only ask you when the situation and you lied.
Trisha and Marquez were no longer legally tied. On paper, the marriage was dissolved. It should have been a relief. But instead of lifting a weight off her shoulders, the court order placed a heavier burden on her. At first, it looked like she had won. The court awarded Trisha primary custody of their daughter, which felt like a victory in her ongoing battle. But as always, the details hid the real sting. The fine print told a different story. The judge made it crystal clear that Marquez could only see his daughter under certain conditions. Overnight visits were strictly forbidden unless he met 3 very specific requirements. He had to pass 3 consecutive clean drug tests, secure a stable home, and have household bills in his own name.
I'm trying to get Trisha to understand is that that whole privacy thing that she has going on doesn't work for our relationship anymore. Like if I ask her a question to her is an accusation. And I'm like, no, an accusation is an accusation. An accusation is me telling you, you did this. Me asking you a question is trying to figure out what actually went on, and it's not me. I can't tell you what you did if I don't know what you did. You gotta tell.
Not 1, not 2, but all 3 boxes had to be checked before he could even think about tucking his little girl into bed. And those rules weren't added randomly. Courts don't create restrictions like that without a reason. That kind of detail usually points to someone raising serious concerns about Marquez's lifestyle. Maybe it was Trisha who brought up those worries, maybe someone else. Either way, the judge believed the concerns enough to record them into the official order. If those issues were real, the situation was more than drama. It was dangerous. Without passing those tests, Marquez would never again be allowed an overnight stay with his daughter. The court had zero tolerance. There was no room for "I'm trying." It was either he complied or he was shut out. While most eyes focused on Marquez's struggles, Ken found himself pulled into the crossfire. Nobody expected the court to hit him with such a strict condition, but that's exactly what happened. The judge declared that Trisha was not allowed to live with any romantic partner unless she was legally married to him. It didn't matter if she and Ken said they were just dating or if he was helping out. None of that mattered. To the court, the rules were simple. If Ken wanted to stay under the same roof, he needed a wedding ring on his finger. Otherwise, he was required to pack his belongings and leave Trisha's house by August 25th at 5 p.m. No exceptions, no extensions, no excuses. This ruling turned their relationship upside down overnight. Ken, who had been around for years, who had fixed up the house, covered bills, and played a fatherly role to Trisha's daughter, was suddenly labeled an unauthorized occupant. With one court signature, his home was taken from him. Ken's lifestyle as a truck driver made the situation even messier. He often left town for days or weeks at a time. Because of this, he could argue that he wasn't actually living at Trisha's house full-time, only visiting between routes. But the line between visiting and living was blurry. If he left clothes behind, raided the fridge, or stayed multiple nights in a row, wasn't that the same as living there? The court might allow for interpretation, but there was no doubt that someone was watching. And if Marquez wanted leverage, this rule gave him the perfect weapon. One wrong move from Ken could give Marquez grounds to attack Trisha in court. The judge wasn't just putting rules in place, they were putting the whole situation into lockdown. Another shocking decision followed. Trisha and Marquez's daughter was officially banned from appearing on their reality show. Her face, her name, everything had to be blurred or hidden. For producers, this was a massive blow. The child had often been caught in the middle of heated arguments and custody battles, providing a central storyline for the show. Without her, they would need to find new drama to keep viewers hooked. But from a moral perspective, the court's choice was right. The little girl deserved privacy, stability, and protection from the chaos of adult battles. Still, the spotlight burned brighter on Trisha and Ken. The ultimatum about marriage pushed their relationship into crisis mode. Ken now faced a choice between love and legality. Trisha, on the other hand, kept hesitating. For years, she had dodged conversations about marriage. Now, the law was forcing her hand. Ken found himself living out of a suitcase, alternating between his truck and cheap motels. After years of loyalty, being reduced to a visitor stung deeply. He felt betrayed by the woman he had supported so faithfully. And when he asked Trisha for clarity, her answers wavered. One day she said she needed more time. Another day she hinted that maybe they could set a wedding date. Meanwhile, the clock kept ticking. To make matters worse, by sneaking back into her house for short stays, Ken had technically already broken the court order. If word spread, Marquez could easily use it against them. Behind closed doors, the tension between Trisha and Ken grew louder. Ken's closest friend, Will, became his sounding board. Over drinks and late-night talks, Ken poured his heart out. "She keeps me around for the stability," he confessed. "But when it comes to commitment, she freezes." Will didn't sugarcoat his response. "Bro, if she wanted to marry you, it would have happened already. This isn't about the court. This is about her not wanting to lock it down." Ken knew deep down that Will was right. Admitting it, however, meant facing the painful possibility that Trisha had never intended to make him her husband. On the outside, Trisha painted a different picture. She smiled on camera, hosted gatherings, and posted cryptic quotes online about peace and patience. But beneath the surface, she was balancing a custody war, a demanding court order, and an indecisive heart. Huntsville wasn't a big city, and gossip traveled fast. Whispers began to circulate that Trisha might already be eyeing her next backup plan. Someone new, someone without baggage, someone not tied to messy legal fights. Whether that was true or not, the rumor added fuel to Ken's doubts. Ken eventually reached his limit. He stopped asking questions about marriage and started watching Trisha's actions instead. What he saw was a woman in no rush to decide. One Monday morning, before heading back out on the road, he left a simple, handwritten note on her kitchen counter. It wasn't dramatic, just honest. "You've had my heart, but I need to know you want it. I can't keep being your maybe." That night, Trisha found the note. She didn't cry or call him. She just sat in silence, staring at the words. The fact that she didn't chase after him spoke louder than anything else. While Ken walked away, Marquez was making progress. Against expectations, he passed 2 of his required drug tests and managed to secure a rental home with bills in his own name. If he passed the 3rd test, the entire custody arrangement could shift. Overnight visits would be back on the table, and Trisha's grip on primary custody would loosen. The energy in town changed. People buzzed with anticipation, waiting to see if Marquez would complete the final step. For him, this wasn't just about visitation, it was about redemption. It was about proving that he could still rise after being written off. By the end of the week, Marquez cleared the last hurdle. He filed a motion with the court to update custody and reinstate his overnight rights. A review hearing was scheduled, throwing Trisha back into defensive mode. But this time, Ken wasn't there to stand by her side. With Trisha and Ken unraveling and the child barred from filming, the show's producers scrambled to find fresh storylines. Rumor had it they were even considering adding a new family to stir up interest, possibly one connected to Marquez. No one felt safe. Not in love, not in court, not on camera. At the reunion taping, Trisha appeared alone. She wore a carefully chosen outfit, held her trademark glass of wine, and smiled for the cameras. But her hands trembled slightly, and when the camera zoomed in, her left hand was bare. No ring, no Ken. Backstage, someone asked quietly, "So, is it really over?" Trisha paused, exhaled, and whispered, "I guess we'll see." But deep down, everyone knew Ken wasn't coming back. When Marquez entered the courtroom for his custody hearing, he looked cleaner and sharper than he had in years. He wasn't just fighting for visitation anymore. He was fighting for redemption, relevance, and maybe even revenge. In Huntsville, nobody stays down forever. They don't quit, they reload. This chapter shows how love, law, and loyalty can collide in ways no one expects. Do you think Trisha will regret letting 10 go? Or will Marquez's comeback change everything? Share your thoughts below, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and stay tuned for the next twist.